about lots of things. I want to do lots of things. I want the chance. So just like you, I've been desperate for freedom. But I did say, I wrote a column in which I said, for once in my life, I'm properly on the fence. And it's not a place I feel comfortable being at all. I'm never normally astride a fence. It's very undignified for a start. It's not a position that my mother ever told me to assume. It's quite revolting. But I thought, do I want more freedom? Don't I? Do I want to be allowed to go out and catch COVID at will? No, I don't. Do I want people breathing all over me on the tube because they haven't got masks on because they don't have to wear them? Not especially. Not if they've got that new Delta variant. Not really. Actually, no. Do I? No. And when people say, are you hugging? Are we kissing? Are we hugging? I'm thinking, well, I never really wanted to hug you anyway, mate. Not particularly. No, I'm not really. I'm thinking, I don't know, possibly. I don't usually not know. But for once in my life, I've been in the really weird position of thinking I don't know whether I want this to go sooner, faster, slower. I just don't know. All I know is I want you to be healthy. I want all your lovely viewers to be healthy. I want my family and friends to be healthy. And I feel if we've survived this long, please God, let us survive to enjoy our freedom. How much of a hurry am I in? I don't, my usual hurry, but with this strange kind of caution, which is not my real personality. And I think, don't you find that one of the things about this pandemic has been people saying constantly, this isn't what I'm really like. I'm not this kind of person. I don't behave like this. I don't think this, or I don't know what I think. That's not me. But this disease has been so terrifying. It has taken the stuffing out of lots of us, I think.
Yeah, no, it has. And the mental health crisis that we're facing, I think, is probably only just beginning. But want to move on to another issue, Vanessa, because there's been a bit of a media row going on, a media ding-dong going on between you and Anne Robinson, the new host of Countdown. And this is all over about what she did or did not say to you when you previously appeared on an episode of The Celebrity Weakest Link. So you said earlier this year that you were horrified when you appeared on the show and were asked by Anne, looking the way you do, how do you think you land all these big black boyfriends? But Anne Robinson hit back after that, saying what I actually said to her was, how can someone like you attract gorgeous black boyfriends? So who's right? What's the difference? And I was going to say, does that language make it any better to you?
Is there any difference? I mean, what is the implication that the difference is? All I know is that I had just got together with Ben at that stage, and he was in such a state of adoring infatuation that he accompanied me to this edition of The Weakest Link. So he was sitting there in the audience. So were various other people I know actually at the time. And Anne Robinson was saying her horrible, nasty, barbed, bitchy comments for which she was famous, which was pretty undeserved, really, because there were a whole team of scriptwriters who wrote them for her every time. So whether she really deserved to revel in the plaudits for having come up with these, deliciously obnoxious statements, I'm not sure, since she didn't create them herself. However, the one she chose for me was, do you think, looking the way you do, implying that I'm hideously repellent and, unattractive, how do you think you attract all these big black boyfriends? And I said straight away, well, that is racist. I've never, ever chosen a male companion, a lover, a boyfriend, a husband on the basis of race in my life. And I'm sure you won't be able to use that in the programme. So I suggest you think of something else to say. And of course, they didn't use it in the programme. They couldn't. It is racist. It's totally inappropriate. It's racist. It wouldn't fly at all as a comment on that kind of television programme. So they didn't use it. And I never gave it a moment's thought after that, because they didn't use it. It's not that if they did use it and it brought me a great deal of embarrassment and pain. It didn't at all. It ended up on the cutting room floor almost as soon as it had been uttered. But the thing was, on my radio show, a gay gentleman appeared when Anne Robinson was given the gig of Countdown. And he recounted the story of when he was on the show. And he was a very young guy, and he was a bit undecided about his sexuality, and he hadn't come out to his parents or his friends. And she made some hideously barbed comments to him about his being gay. And he was terrified for months before the broadcast about what his friends would think, what his family would think, how it would go over. So this show brought him a great deal of personal anguish and misery. Didn't bring me any at all, none. But I said, oh gosh, well, I remember what she said to me. And that's when I told him what she had said to me as a kind of spontaneous response on my radio programme. I certainly didn't go to the papers about it or make a big hue and cry over it, because it was years ago. And as I say, it never made it to air anyway. However, she decided for some reason to take umbrage at this revelation, saying, you know, if Vanessa Feltz was really so upset, why on earth didn't she say so earlier? I didn't say so because I wasn't upset, because nothing happened. There was nothing to say. Why would you talk about something that was never aired? So I don't know why, when she's landed this delightful, comfortable, well-paid role on Countdown, she doesn't just sit quietly and enjoy it. I don't know why she wants to bother sparring with me. But all I know is that nasty comment never made it to air. So, you know, it really hasn't caused any pain or suffering at all. And I'm perfectly happy to let it lie.
Well, it's fascinating, Vanessa, because that young man that you speak about is Benjamin Butterworth, who's actually on our superstar panel today. So he's with me here on the studio. He is lovely.
Oh, hello, darling.
And Benjamin, I know you do, because we've discussed this before, you do feel quite traumatised about it, and I described you as a snowflake, didn't I? So, so Vanessa, are you going to tell me off for that? Because I didn't have much sympathy.
I am going to tell you off for that, because this is a young gentleman who goes on a programme which is supposed to be a light-hearted quiz show, and there's supposed to be, yes, a few jibes, but it's meant to be genuinely of a kind of light-natured, you know, not deep and probing and destructive quality and nature. And it's on the BBC. It's meant to be, you know, of a certain kind of calibre. And instead of having a fun time, enjoying himself, stretching his brain cells a little bit, he's genuinely harrowingly frightened about what the repercussions of this so-called light-hearted programme could be. And I think her spite and lack of sensitivity towards him caused him real pain. And I don't think he was in the least bit snowflakey. I think he was purely human, young, undecided about what he wanted to say about his own life. And he didn't want bloody old Anne Robinson saying it for him.
Is that true, Benjamin?
Yeah, I was really upset because, you know, my grandmother was going to watch that programme when it aired. I'd just turned 18. You know, I was young. This wasn't something I was used to sharing. And, you know, Dan had said to me previously when we spoke about this, but you know what Anne Robinson is like. And you do. She is deliciously bitchy. Although, as you said, and as I saw when I did the programme, she ain't writing those lines herself. There's a whole team of people behind a black curtain that are there and doing all the clever stuff for her. But I never imagined that something like my sexuality, something that, yes, I will have told producers in the pre-chats, but I was 18, I was a bit naive, it didn't occur to me it would come up on air. I think there is fair to say that there are boundaries. You know, if someone goes on and says they always talk about being a lesbian or something, then maybe that makes it okay to discuss. But the way she targeted me as a gay kid was inappropriate. The way she targeted the fact that you'd fallen in love with someone that was, you know, that was a black man was inappropriate. And I think it's a shame that she's, given how rich she is and how she continues to be very successful, that she's not had sort of the guts and the backbone to say, actually, I think I did cross the line sometimes.
Okay, so you want an apology, Benjamin?
I would like an apology, but also, you know, I don't dispute how talented she is. You know, it's not trying to cancel her or something. It's saying you went too far and actually you owe some of these people on these programmes an apology, and if you don't recognise that what you said is wrong...
don't want to cancel it, because you know what I'm like about cancellation culture. But Benjamin, we'll discuss this later on. Vanessa, I have to talk to you because you know we discuss very often, and I'm always coming to you and crying on your shoulder, weight gain and weight loss, because through all of the years that I've known you, and gosh, I think I first met you and Ben, you know, it must be 14 years ago or something like that now, a very, very long time ago. And you have always, or you had previously always yo-yoed with your weight as well. But the last time I saw you, just before the pandemic, I mean, you were tiny. You were literally tiny, and you told me it was because you'd had this operation to actually... Well, I think it's called a gastric bypass, actually, isn't it?
That's right.
Your stomach has basically been removed. But I was so fascinated by it because, to me, you were always like me. You were a person that actually got off on eating. You know, a lot of your joy came from, oh, my goodness, we can try that, we can try that. So I just wonder if you have any regrets at all about that operation, because obviously it's worked and you look incredible, but it's not reversible, is it?
Oh, thank you. Gosh, no, I don't regret it. Honestly, it's one of the best things I've ever done. All I regret is not having done it sooner, quite frankly. It's very different from a gastric band. A gastric band is a kind of actual physical band that stops you eating much food, and it's very uncomfortable, and you're very physically aware of it, and you can never forget about it. This operation is not like that at all. It's absolutely blissful, quite frankly, because you can eat. It's just that that thing in your brain that's meant to tell you you've had enough. And in your case, I think, and certainly in mine, stopped working years ago.
Oh, it's never worked for me. It's never worked for me.
It's barely ever worked for me either. It really hasn't. I would just think, oh, chocolate mousse, give me more, give me more, give me a bit more. And what can I have as a chaser before I have a bit more? The bit that was meant to say you've had enough, stop it, it's not good for you, that never worked, never.
No. And that's where that custard headline came from with you, right?
I love that headline. It's one of the best things ever written about me. Vanessa's friends are worried she's drinking custard again. And I tried drinking it, actually, for a TV show. It's quite hard to do. It's very thick and it's quite hard to drink. Wasn't true, but it was a great headline. But this operation, well, it certainly worked. It means that when I get to a certain point, I've just had enough, really can't eat anymore, don't want to, don't feel ill. I just feel full, very, very full in the way I always wished I had, but never really did before. And I've lost a lot of weight and I don't have to keep thinking about it every second or going through, that horrible thing where you go through what you've eaten that day and you think, oh God, I hate myself. I shouldn't have eaten that. I wish I hadn't. Tomorrow I'll eat nothing, just dust and air and pencil clippings, nothing ever again.
You're speaking my language.
There's a bit of leftover apple pie. You polish it off. You hate yourself. That whole thing.
That cycle,
that stops because you actually haven't eaten too much, really. If you did, you'd feel awfully full and uncomfortable, so you'd stop, and it's worked very, very well. So I don't regret it. I'm very pleased about it.
Vanessa, we're getting loads of questions in from our brilliant army of GB News viewers, so let me get to them. Matt, via the GB News Twitter account, asks, how do you manage such a demanding workload? Because, it really is insane, Vanessa. You are up so early and you do 2 radio shows on different channels before most people are even awake.
I know. And then twice a week I do This Morning with Holly and Phil, and I can only get there on the back of a motorbike, because otherwise I wouldn't get to the studio in time. So I do the first show. I have to get up at 3:30. I'm on air at 4 a.m., 4 till 6:30 at Radio 2. Then I go chugging across the road. I have to move my car to a different car park, rush across the road. And then I'm on air from 7 till 10. And then This Morning on the back of the motorbike, whizzing across the Westway, literally running down the stairs. They fling a pair of false eyelashes on me and just, adjust my cleavage, and I'm on. How do I do it? I'm absolutely knackered the whole time, extremely bad-tempered. If I had any hormones left, I'd be hormonal. But as I'm menopausal, I don't even have any of those or anything. Can't even take HRT. I'm in a right state. I would have to ask Ben what it's like. I feel just as knackered and exhausted and fed up as anybody else would in the same situation. I'm motivated by 2 things, really. One is I don't want my children to starve and I don't want to have to send my grandchildren up the chimney. So I really feel as if I've got to keep the money chugging in. But also I love it. I love the work I do and I feel so lucky to do it. So, those are the things that keep me going. But I'm just as tired as any other human being would be, which is very...
Very, very. Now, look, Fazer on Facebook asks, Dear Vanessa, how do you keep your cool when attacked by so many rude people who seem to proliferate on social media?
That's really easy. I'm not on social media. And until the pandemic, I didn't have a smartphone. I just had an £8 Nokia. I think they're called a drug dealer phone. So I'd never been ever in my entire life on social media, and I'm still not. I've got the phone, and I can get, photographs of the grandkids. And what else do I use it for? I get Daily Mail online, a couple of other news sources, and that's it. So I'm not on social media, and that makes life very easy because you can't read nasty things about yourself. You can't be tempted to write nasty things about other people. It gives you much more time to read a decent book or knit a jumper or make really passionate, sweaty love with your other half in the afternoon or whatever it is you want to do. And I want to do many, many more things more passionately, Fazer, than read horrible things that other people might want to say about me.
Very wise.
So fortunately, I'm completely unscathed, totally unhurt, because I have never seen any of it. And don't you think that's the right thing to do?
Oh my God, I wish I could. I wish I had the balls to do it. Lindsay,
really, I've never seen a single word of it. Not one.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm jealous. Lindsay at GB News asks, Vanessa, I remember you had an awful cold in January 2020. Were you ever diagnosed with COVID-19?
Gosh, you've got a brilliant memory. What a great memory. I caught the cold in December when I went off to visit the other half in Panto at Portsmouth. Oh, yes, I did. And it was just horrible weather and it was freezing cold and I was adoring him from the wings, you know, that kind of thing. And I got a shocking cold. But no, it wasn't COVID. It was just a cold. It was one, you know, very, very common, the common or garden, common cold, and nothing more exotic than that. But thank you so much for caring. That's really nice of you.
David J. via GBNews asks, does Vanessa think woke warriors in the MSM do our nation a disservice by constantly talking our country down?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think anyone who talks our country down, whether they're woke or non-woke, probably doesn't do anybody any good. I'm very proud to be British. I'm very grateful to be British. My family, a Jewish family, you know, refugees from all over the world who found sanctuary and safety in this country. I read English literature at Trinity College, Cambridge. I specialised in Chaucer as a Jewish girl from a Jewish family. I couldn't be more grateful to this country for the welcome and the background and the education and the love that I feel from this country. And therefore, anybody, woke or non-woke, who talks this country down won't find favour with me. But I'm always wary of condemning people for being woke or indeed politically correct, because doesn't woke just mean woken up to the possibility of hurting other people? I don't know. Let's take the easy path in this one and say anyone who knocks this country is not going to find favour with me.
Good answer. Deborah on Facebook, this is the final question, Vanessa, and it's a good one. It's a good one. Hi, Vanessa, is it true that you and your husband sleep in separate bedrooms? And if so, would you advise it?
Gosh, yes, it is. And yes, I would. If you have a house big enough or another bedroom to sleep in, I'd even advise separate bathrooms as well if you want total bliss in a relationship. Absolutely marvellous. That way you preserve your mystique, which is always a good thing. And we've been together 15 years. So I'm hanging on to my mystique with all my fingernails that I possibly can. The reason that we started sleeping in separate rooms was because I have to get up at 3:30 in the morning. And he often performs in nightclubs. So he could be coming in as I'm going out or whatever. And I found that if he snored, which occasionally he does, and I couldn't sleep, I got terribly angry because I kept counting down. You know, I've only got, an hour and a half till I have to get up. I've only got 40 minutes. Stop snoring. I can't stand it. He says that he thinks that the separate bedrooms thing really keeps the spark going in the relationship because there's a little bit of visiting. You know, there's a little bit of sort of formality. There's a little bit of kind of inquiry about whether a visit would be welcome or not welcome. And that's both ways, actually. And I think it's pretty good. It's rather, on holidays, obviously we don't. We sleep in the same bed on holidays and high days and holy days and Christmas days and all of that. But during the week, most weeks we sleep in separate rooms and we don't think it's done our relationship any harm. In fact, we think it's done it the world of good.
Vanessa, you are a total legend. I hope to see you and Ben very, very soon. Love you both lots and thank you for being here on Tonight.
Thank you for having me. So much love to everybody. Bye.